Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners and viewers, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I am sunburnt John Ledyard. Along with me today on the Pewter Report podcast is our fearless leader, the one and only Scott Reynolds. We are
also
live.
sunburn.
Yes. Well, are you? A little bit, yeah.
I'm a little pink, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
I use
Not as much as me.
Too.
I think I got it pretty good today because we were down at Titans and Bucs joint practices at the Advent Health Training Center in Tampa Bay, taking it all in, looking at the Bucs against another team. Man, this was 100 times more fun than the last 2 days have been. Not that every day of practice is great, but there's a lot of live bullets today, a lot to talk about. I didn't even get to see everything because there's basically two practices going on at once. You're
exactly
watching
right,
the defense, and I'm watching the offense.
Yeah. It was definitely fun. It was spirited, but certainly not like the fists weren't flying. Let's put it that way. I think both Mike Vrabel and Bruce Arians made it clear to each team, let's just have a good, productive practice. No nonsense, no fights. Ryan Jensen was on his best behavior today, which was good to see.
He did put a guy in the dirt, though, by the way.
Well, of course.
More about that later.
He's going to do that, but there wasn't any extracurricular, and that was good to see. But really, John, maybe the disturbing thing for the Buccaneers is these drop passes continued again today.
Gosh,
it wasn't just the Buccaneers. There was something in the air today. It was footballs, but they were hitting the ground, not receivers' hands. And it wasn't just Tampa Bay. The Tennessee Titans also had plenty of misfires and plenty of drops in the one-on-ones, in the 11-on-11s. So we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean – I'm gonna vent on these drops. I'm just gonna be honest with people. I already wrote about it, and then today was worse. So we've got a lot to discuss. But we got to talk about our friends over at Celsius first of all, Scott. They are sponsoring the show as they do every Pewter Report podcast because they are the GOATs. I mean, you're rocking the tropical vibe, and you tweeted out before you headed down to practice today. Yeah. You were checking out. You were getting some Celsius in you. Yeah. I was as well. I finished off a watermelon this morning, and it spurred on my day.
I did the ultimate double dip, and this is just a prop because I actually had the Fuji apple pear today, which is one of my favorites and hard to find, but I didn't keep the can, so I actually had the Fuji apple pear, and then I double dipped. I had a fast bar too, right here that comes in two.
I'm jealous you have flavors. Salted caramel peanut crunch.
Yeah,
I only have, where is it? It's laying around here somewhere, but I've got the other one, the white chocolate cookies and cream.
Yes. So these fast bars are fantastic because like a great Celsius product, the taste is there. I've tasted plenty of protein bars in my life, so much so that I don't even eat them much anymore because they taste like cardboard or sawdust, I don't want to go off script here, but these taste like candy bars, like for real. But they're not candy bars. They're high energy protein bars that are good for you, just like the Celsius beverage. And what I love about Celsius is I've given up coffee. My acid reflux thing, I can't have coffee anymore, which is a bummer. I used to drink it every morning, but now I don't miss it because I start my day with Celsius. So Celsius for the morning, and then a fast bar for breakfast, and I was off, ready to go at Bucs camp. And John, maybe I'm going to tell Bruce Arians tomorrow when I do a little interview with them, maybe his guys need to get some Celsius before practice because these drops, man, we got to do something about this.
I don't even know, every time we ask Bruce Arians about drops after games last year, after practices this year, his response is always the same. Just got to catch the ball. You just got to catch the ball. That's it. With some profanities thrown in. And so I don't think he's wrong, but how often I don't see the Bucs receivers on the jugs machine. I'm literally just I'm searching for answers here, Scott, because it's getting ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about their wide receivers, by the way. I'm talking about their tight ends. I'm talking about the running backs. Everybody was guilty of it today. Even the guys who hardly ever drop one. The guys you can count on in practice. Yeah, Mike Evans. Well, he's had drops, but Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Scotty Miller have hardly dropped anything in camp. I mean, the other guys have all had their days where it was, but those three have hardly had an issue at all. In fact, I think Antonio Brown dropped his first pass in a practice today. It was wide open in the middle of the field. He tried to turn up field into all this space, I think, before he really secured the catch. Scotty Miller dropped a deep ball in one-on-ones. Chris Godwin did not. He was great today. Tyler Johnson, who usually he and Jalen Darden are the ones that have struggled kind of with drops, he was great today. I mean, Tyler Johnson had probably his best practice, Scott. He was dynamite. He made a one-handed back shoulder catch kind of stabbed the ball out of the air
Yeah.
and pulled in while he was falling to the ground, a leaping grab. He has really impressed the last few days, but I don't want to get so caught up in the negative that we don't talk about the positives too, Scott, with this Bucs wide receiver core, because they put on an absolute show in the one-on-one periods.
Separation big time today.
And I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, I mean, we've gone through this how many practices in a row now where drops are a huge issue, happens in the game. Last year, it was a big issue. They were second in the NFL. Brady had second most passes dropped of any quarterback in the NFL. It's something that isn't going away right now.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, one of the coaches that gets talked about so much glowingly is Kevin Garber, the receivers coach, and he does a great job. I mean, the Bucs receivers are getting open. You've seen the development from the young players like Scotty Miller, like Tyler Johnson, Chris Godwin emerging into a franchise type player. But that's the number one job of a receiver is to catch the ball. I mean, getting open is one thing, but sometimes, even if it's a contested catch situation, you got to make the catch.
Right.
And because otherwise it's all for naught. It's an incomplete. All of a sudden it cycles. And if you're on second down, it's third down. If you're on third down, now you're punting. So it's something that has to get cleaned up. At some point in time, I'd love to see Tom Brady just blast this team in practice. Seriously, John, just think about it. Like he did with the penalty situation in Chicago, going ballistic on the sideline, especially at Ryan Jensen when he got that 15-yarder. Maybe that's what it takes. Sometimes it has to come from the players, not the coaches. They're getting an earful in their meetings. I guarantee you that. But maybe Brady has got to step up in the situation and say, knock this crap off. And sometimes it's hard because Brady wasn't perfect either, right? I mean, he had a pick in practice. Maybe it was a wrong route. But maybe it has to come from the players. And sometimes when you're not, firing bullets and you're not, having a perfect day, it might be hard for you to be the one to step up and do it. But listen, everybody respects Brady.
Right. I think it's true. Everybody does respect him. He's maybe not going to lose it like that in practice. We don't know. I mean, I don't know what's being said in the meeting rooms and things like that. But the thing with Brady is that the consistency's there every day, and other guys need to bring that too. I almost say a guy like Mike Evans has to step up too, and call this to attention and figure out how they can. What's the solution? What's a way to remedy this? But again, it's not just the wideouts. Don't want to pick on the wideouts, but although Jalen Darden had a couple today, and Antonio Brown had one, Scotty Miller had one, Evans had a couple. Yeah. Gronkowski also had a couple today. Gronkowski's practice not really acceptable in my opinion, because
every time I turn my head in between defensive reps, I looked over and I saw OJ Howard dropping passes too. I
didn't even see him drop one. So
he had at least two that I saw. So there could have been more because I was watching the defense. But
Rojo dropped one today, which he's caught the ball pretty well. Gio let one go through his hands on the goal line. Darden again had one. Keyshawn Vaughn had one on a screen. Many of these were just wide open. Again, you can only harp on it so much. It is what it is. You got to cut out drops if you want to win football games. You can't be doing self-inflicted stuff. It's just especially frustrating when today could have been us coming on the podcast and just talking about how the Bucs absolutely wrecked the Titans, because I don't think the Titans could hang with them if they had just completed a lot of plays. It wasn't even just drops. Mike Evans he didn't track the ball well at all today. It was a practice to forget. I'm not going to harp on it. He's obviously a great player, but it was just a bad practice for him. He should have made a couple more catches that he didn't make. And overall, though, Scott, the one-on-one periods between the Bucs wide receivers and the Titans with the fans watching was one of the highlights of camp to open.
No doubt about it.
Mike Evans won and then didn't finish a catch, but people saw him getting open. AB got held.
Brown. Yep.
Yeah, and then the fans were frustrated. Hey, that's a fly. And I think they threw one, but. Then Chris Godwin one deep, and then Jaden Mickens one deep, and Tyler Johnson made 4 amazing catches. Right? It was a flood. Yeah. It really was. They just dominated the rest of that session.
Yeah. How many reps did Kyle Trask get today? Because, again, I was watching defense. Did he see much action at all today?
No, almost none. It was almost all first and second team today. So almost no reps for Ryan Griffin or Kyle Trask. None in those one-on-ones. It was all Brady and Gabbert throwing to those guys. They may have been doing some other one-on-ones on the far end of the field. Yeah. I think they were, but I didn't see or watch those one-on-ones. I was just watching a lot of the top guys. But it was pretty much everybody for the Bucs receiving core won almost every single matchup. The Titans had one pick somebody didn't, I forget who the receiver was, didn't get open. And obviously one-on-ones, Brady has to throw it anyway. And so he just gunned it in there. And I think they wrestled for the ball and Titans guy came up with it. It was
kind of wild, John, because like you said, it really was like two practices going on at the same time, right? Because I mean, you had one field, you had the Bucs offense going against Titans defense, and then you had the Bucs defense going against the Titans offense.
And you were at that other field. You were watching the Bucs defense. Was there one-on-ones happening there too with Titans wide receivers? I know.
There were.
Just so fans know, Julio Jones and AJ Brown were both out of practice today, so it wasn't maybe the best test they could have gotten. But at the same time, did you see something?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of Titans receivers that actually stepped up and had a pretty good day. Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers were the two guys for Tennessee that really gave the Bucs the most problems. Not so much in the one-on-ones, but in the 11-on-11 periods. And I think it was an okay day in terms of coverage for Tampa Bay's secondary. It wasn't great. The one-on-ones, right? It's really geared for the wide receivers to win that. I mean, that is typically the defense is always at a disadvantage.
Right.
It's a reaction drill for the defense. They don't know what the routes are. There is no help, right? If you're running a slant, there's no linebackers or safeties to pass off the guy to. You get a trail, and if it's a deep, if it's it's a comeback, whatever, it's tough for the defense. And the thing is, it seemed like every time a Bucs defender got burned or there was some separation from the Titans, it was either a drop pass or it was a misfire. It was a pass that was too out in front or too high for the receiver. So it's tough to say that the Titans really won those one-on-ones because they didn't finish the play. Yeah. And then there were a couple of times where Tampa Bay, did have a pass breakup or whatever, but it really wasn't like they were dominant in coverage. That was not the case. So really, it was kind of a draw by default. Not the best showing by Tampa Bay's secondary, but it wasn't bad either. It was just okay. And then with the Titans receivers and tight ends, there was enough self-inflicted wounds there. They really didn't win the period, and they really should have, because I think if they would have made some of those catches, I would have given the nod to Tennessee. I kind of called it a draw, a wash, if you will.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, with AJ Brown and Julio Jones out, you would hope that the Bucs would have been a little more dominant in that period. But like you said, it is slanted kind of one way, and so there is some of that's understandable. Right. I was watching, Matt and I were watching Bucs offense most of practice. And they were closer to the fans, and then you were watching Bucs defense most of practice. Maybe we'll switch tomorrow, but what were your observations watching the Bucs defensive team periods? Paul specifically would like to know, like, safety structure. Did you see, like, were they playing too high, or were they rolling a safety down, or were there any things like that you noticed in the defensive period? What kind of stood out there?
It's really interesting because I'm trying to get a one-on-one with Bruce Arians tomorrow, probably by phone before practice, but I want to know some of the intricacies about this. Were the Titans coaches, like, because this is a joint practice, right? And so sometimes, obviously, you have to agree on, hey, we're going to be working red zone in this period, which there was a red zone period in practice. So, but the thing is when it's Bucs on Bucs, you might have Byron Leftwich or Harold Goodwin say, hey, Todd, I really want you to blitz us, this period, especially on third downs, show us some exotic looks so there is a give and take. We want to see this from the defense. So the coaches know it. It's not really a surprise. But the thing is with these joint practices, I wonder how much scripting there is, or if it's just, we're going to do red zone and, you're not going to know how we're going to come out, if we're going to be, in 13 personnel or if we're going to be in 4 wide, right? So that's what I'm kind of curious about, is how much scripting is there and how that matches up. But I will say this, the Titans really had a hard time running the ball on the Bucs front seven. Matter of fact, the running back who actually got the most carries was Jeremy Mcnichols, former Bucs running back, who's trying to earn a spot in Tennessee. And he did have one nice breakout run. Looked like either Devin White or the safety got kind of washed out of his gap, and that was one big run. But really, for the most part, the Bucs front seven was just kind of dominant. I listed a couple of plays in the practice report, and Will Golston, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh were just really making some plays up front. Javon Hagan came up on a nice run blitz. There were some tackles for loss. And then we did see kind of an exotic look from from Todd Bowles. I'm not going to describe it because I don't want to give away any secrets here for other teams, but it involved some people out of position. Joe Tryon was not in the usual position, neither was Ndamukong Suh, and it really caused some confusion up front. And what it did allow was for Levante David to come completely free on a blitz and sack, because there wasn't anybody going to the ground, but sack Ryan Tannehill. So we did see a couple of exotic looks from Todd Bowles. We did see Levante David flash there. When it got down into the red zone, one play I noted was that Joe Tryon, he's not used to covering. When we had Jimmy Lake, the Washington head coach, on the podcast, he said that he could do it. That's something that that he has the skill set to do, the athleticism to do. But at the same time, Jimmy's like, he's a pass rusher, right? You don't want your guys in coverage.
Todd Bowles has said the same thing.
Exactly. But there are some times in zone blitzes, and we did see today Anthony Nelson drop in coverage and, of course, get burned. I mean, do not drop Anthony Nelson into coverage anymore. Just don't do it. It's not going to be good. It's not a good outcome for the Buccaneers. It's almost a guaranteed catch. So if I'm an opposing quarterback and I see 98 drop in coverage, that's where I'm going with the ball. Okay, because Anthony Nelson, yes, he's got length. He does not.
That's what they're banking on, Scott. They're hoping those crazy long arms get a deflection, turnover.
I've yet to see that, John. I've yet to see it in the game. Too. I've yet to see it in practice. It just doesn't work. So if you want to use the length, use it on field goal or extra point block. But the thing is this was a zone drop for Joe Tryon, and I think he didn't get the proper depth. And what we saw was the fullback, Kerry Blasingame, kind of take it up the sidelines in a wheel route, and the quarterback, I believe it was Tannehill, hit that sweet spot between the cornerback, D. Delaney, who couldn't get over in time, and it was a touchdown in the red zone. So I think Joe Tryon, those are a really good learning rep for him. And the one thing I've noticed is he's continued to play left and right side, John, in practice. I think he's more natural and comfortable on the left side, facing the quarterback instead of rushing from the blind side. We saw him play against Cincinnati from the left side almost predominantly. He might have played every single snap on the left side. Yeah. But he just looks more comfortable from the left side. We'll see if that continues and see where he plays Saturday night against the Titans.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot still to learn about the Bucs defense. I think just in general, like we didn't see them against Joe Burrow in the game, in the game on last Saturday. And so, and then they they're getting kind of a drive going by the Bengals backup quarterback on offense, Brandon Allen. And then you had a fumble. And so, it's okay. Well, what, and then they're out, 6 plays, 8 plays, whatever it was, and they're out. And so it's like, all right, did we learn anything? I don't know how much we learned. And then in practice, Tannehill's out there, but they were down. I don't think Nate Davis played, one of their guards. I don't think Ben Jones, their center, played today. Right. No A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones. And so how much of the test are you getting? I just think we still have a lot to learn about kind of how the defense. We haven't gained as much knowledge. I thought they played well against the Bengals, but, I mean, you get down the depth chart for the Bengals and it's pretty rough sledding. And so, I think that the Bucs defense will be something like Vita Vea got a sack in one of the team periods that I saw. He kind of bull rushed some backup center for the Titans into the pocket and it's kind of dominated. I saw the red zone period. I saw the Titans. I saw Carlton Davis made like a diving play and just somehow missed the ball. I don't know how. I thought he played it perfectly. He just missed the ball on like a bullet slant pass, and it got in for a touchdown in their first red zone play. Then it's 3 play. It wasn't like a catch opportunity. It was like he dove and swatted, and somehow the ball went right past him. But it was, and then they did 3 play series in the red zones. That's what they've been doing. And so the Titans got 3 plays, and I know they scored on the first one on that Carlton Davis play. I don't know what happened on the next 2 because I could not see from where we had to be. The Titans are like blocking our normal view, the rest of their guys. So I couldn't quite see what happened. I think one of them was an incomplete pass, but I couldn't quite see what happened after that.
Right. Yeah, there were a couple of good plays by the Bucs secondary. Jamel Dean had a diving interception that counted in the 11-on-11 period. I want to say it was either Vita Vea, maybe Will Golston tipped the ball at the line of scrimmage, and he saw the play, was very alert, broke off the route, and then dove towards the line of scrimmage and came up with the interception. That was good to see. And Ross Cockrell really had a chance for a pick six. He read an out route perfectly and just dropped the ball. But he did a good job with the pass breakup. The one thing that's really notable about Ross Cockrell, and I've had I've seen some comments on our Twitter page about Ross Cockrell, and well, gosh, if he's got 7 interceptions in practice, is he a chance to start? No, he doesn't. And the reason why is he literally has no recovery speed whatsoever. He just doesn't.
He's not fast. No,
I saw that firsthand today, and I don't remember the receiver who beat him, but it was one of those things like, if it's even, you're leaving. And he just got smoked and just could not recover. Now, that was the one-on-ones, and he got beat by, probably 4 yards for a touchdown on a go route. Similar type play. Jamel Dean kind of got frozen a little bit in coverage, was looking at the quarterback, hesitated a little bit. But the thing is,
Jamel Dean had bad eyes in coverage.
Imagine that, right? But at the same time, we saw the recovery speed. The pass was a little lofty, and Jamel Dean was there at the goal line. He really, there was about a 4 or 5 yard.
That's the one you got video
cushion.
of, right?
Yes, about a 4 or 5 yard cushion there, and Jamel Dean came racing back and broke up the pass at the goal line. So that's the one thing Dean gives you, is that recovery speed. Even when he has a little lapse in coverage, there's a chance he can come back and make that play. But I think that's what's keeping Ross Cockrell in a reserve capacity at safety, is just does not have elite foot speed by any means.
Yeah, it is about kind of putting Ross Cockrell in the best position to succeed, right? Like is it safety, or, is the speed exposed more corner? Maybe there's some truth to both things, and both could present challenging scenarios for him. But he's also not starting because the Bucs are, Jordan Whitehead's playing really well, and
Mike Edwards playing really well too.
Yeah, did he have a good day today from what you saw?
He had an okay day, but really the guy that flashed to me was Javon Hagan. Had a great run blitz.
Good camp.
Yeah, and had a very nice pass breakup in the end zone where he was one-on-one against the tight end Jared Pinkney, and really was kind of in the trail position up until the very last second, and then just closed on the ball. Had a diving pass breakup and saved it. Would have been a touchdown in the red zone period. So really nice play by Javon Hagan. He's really caught my eye. And you'd like to see that similar type of performance from Hagan this Saturday that he had last Saturday. By that I mean the 6 tackles, the 3 tackles for loss, the interception. But just wipe out the bad plays, wipe out the fumble on the interception, wipe out those 3 or 4 missed tackles that he had. Just leave the good stuff on tape, and then he'll win that 4th safety position, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he's caught your eye. You know what's caught our eye, Scott? LivingGolfLife.com. These guys, I'm telling you, man, they got some of the best. If you're a golfer and you're looking for apparel and you're looking to stay fresh when you're out on the course, you got to check out LivingGolfLife.com. They've got hats. You see me wear their Living Golf Life hat several times on the podcast. They've got these glasses and koozies and all kinds of stuff over on their site. So check out all the accessories they have over there. They're awesome guys, military background, and they started this website because they love golf. They love just going out and having a few cold ones on the golf course. Who cares if you play well or not? It's about being having a lifestyle revolving around golf and having the times that you spend out on the course. And so these guys kind of get it. They're awesome, and LivingGolfLife.com kind of embodies all what they're about, and as does their apparel and some of the accessories that they sell over there. So check out LivingGolfLife.com. Great gifts to ask for and great gifts to give as well. So make sure you check out the stuff they've got on their site.
And so also follow on Instagram too. I just followed them on Instagram. They're a great follow. And that's
Living Golf Life. Yeah, Living Golf Life. Yeah. The offense kind of after that one-on-one period, Scott, it was much more of a mixed bag for the offense. There were good plays. I'm going to act like there weren't, but the missed opportunities kind of superseded a lot of that in our mind. At one point, it was ridiculous. I mean, there was a 3-play stretch, Scott, where like Ronald Jones dropped a pass in the flat wide open.
Yeah.
Darden dropped a slant wide open. Keyshawn Vaughn dropped a screen wide open. And it was like, what? And then they went to red zone period right after that. Brady with a dime down the seam goes off Gronk's hands. Play before that, I think Mike Evans had a chance, adjusted to a ball and had a chance, and it goes off his hands in the end zone. I mean, it was one of those periods where you're just like, this is getting ridiculous.
John, it sounds like if this was not a joint practice, Bruce Arians might have just stopped it, brought everybody together, chewed some ass, and then go back at it. But because of the scripted nature, and you've got guests in your building and all that stuff too, it probably didn't happen. But I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. We're going to see a stoppage in practice, and Bruce just go ballistic. Somebody has to, whether it's Bruce or Brady, just to get the attention to detail down.
I agree. I mean, I don't know what the best fix is, to be honest. Like, I think it's worth they're going to have the answers to that better than we will, for sure. You know, I mean, I don't know if it's the all concentration stuff, or guys just need to spend more time catching, or if it just happened to be, you know, today was a terrible day. It's not like it's the same guy all the time. Like, for example, Leonard Fournette has been probably the biggest culprit in camp. And today, I don't think I know. And today, I don't think he had any draw. I don't know if he was targeted. Matt would know probably better than I, but I don't know that he was targeted today. And so, there's kind of just, it's a myriad of things. Like I said, AB doesn't drop the ball. So like Scotty Miller dropped the ball today. He doesn't, you know, Godwin didn't drop any today. He's pretty rock solid in that area. So that's the other thing Bruce said after practice is, yes, we have a lot of drops. When it's Mike, it doesn't concern me. When it's the young guys, it concerns me, you know? And so the fact that it wasn't Tyler Johnson today, and that usually isn't Scotty Miller, Chris Godwin, AB, those are good things. I'm not going to call out anybody over training camp practices, but Mike Evans should, you know, don't think he's practiced very well for a couple, you know, for at least last 2 weeks, really. It's not been Mike. And so, you know, I think that I don't know. You've watched him in practice more often than me. I get the vibe watching him that he's not really a practice player, but like we've said it before. Matt and I joked around about it the other day. He and AB, like, body language, demeanor in practice is like totally opposite, right? Like AB's like, let's go. Every rep he's just like screaming and trash talking. And Evans is like, he'll make a great catch and he'll get up like, oh, my whole body. Like, it just, you know, like he's just, and he like, you know, walks back to the huddle. And it's just, you know, he might not be the
You're right. I think that's a great observation. They really are like night and day in that perspective. And I'm not saying that Mike is a bad practice guy or doesn't like to practice. That's not the case. He's a true professional, but I do think that Mike really loves game days, right? Yeah. I think
anytime he's mic'd up, you can tell.
Yeah. I just think that Mike's a gamer, right? That's just you've heard that term used, and that's kind of for reasons like that. Some interesting developments, sticking with the offense here. Before I forget, remind me about what Bruce Arians said about Tanner Hudson. But before that, Nick Leverett, it's interesting, right? Because he played, we talked about it Saturday night, he played left tackle. He kind of survived in that role. The Bucs seem very high on him. He's really a guard, John. He's 6'4", about 315. He's got a guard body. They tried him at left tackle. They really almost had to play him because Josh Wells was out. And they had Brad Seaton at right tackle, but he can't play left. So Leverett was there. I even said after the game, I want to see the guy at guard because that's really more of his natural position. That's where he played at Rice. Well, guess what? They lost Darius Hutcherson out for the year, so then now they needed him at guard. And so
today they lost John Molson. You know, I don't know how long or what, but hamstring it looked like.
Right. Now, Robert Hainsey came back to practice, which was a good sign, but typically what the Bucs do is they'll you know, kind of ease you back in. And we did see him, you know, in the one-on-ones and the individuals, but we didn't see him in team. And so when Molson was out, guess who played some center today, John? Nick Leverett. And when he jumped in for his first center reps, it was in one-on-ones. This is why I love Nick Leverett, and I think that the Bucs coaches love him too. And he's a scrappy dude, man.
Oh my gosh, to see a competitor. Like, he took 2 reps. He lost one. I thought it was the Simmons live, but then I looked at the roster and maybe Simmons is 98. I don't remember. It was Simmons or Kyle Pecco. I know that discrepancy matters. I'm sorry. I don't know which one it was, but he lost a rep.
For not knowing the Titans roster, John.
Well, I should know that one. I for some reason, I always think Jeffrey Simmons is 94, and then I remember he's 98.
Yeah.
I think he was 94 in college, and that's why that happens to me. But anyway, he lost a rep, and he came back and was like lining up again and like won the rep. Just, I mean, dominance. Like, grip the, you know, under the shoulder pads. That's his. Once he gets you, he's so strong, Nick Leverett. He grabs you, you know, that's it. Then he comes out for a rep. Molson comes, or he's in at right guard. He was playing at right guard for one-on-ones. Molson gets the next rep, gets kind of pushed back, but anchors, but his feet slide out and his hamstring gets strained. So then he goes out. Well, they need somebody to jump in. Well, obviously they're short anyway. Starting line already went. Leverett jumps right in for the next rep. He's like, no, I'm doing it. He takes the guy, lifts him up, and throws him on the ground, and then stands over him. Like, I mean, that's just how he is. Like he just every rep is personal for him. Like
Yeah.
I know that he struggled a little bit in the game of tackle, but I know he's splitting time with Earl Watford right now, which would suggest that he's got to make up some ground. Maybe Brad Seaton passed him in the game. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's going to be. I just think if you get him on the practice squad, which you probably can. It's not like other teams probably know much about him. But I think he'd be a good guy to have there.
I think so too. And I want to see him at home on Saturday. I want to see him at guard because I really think that he's strong, he's agile, and I think he can be a people mover at the guard spot. So with Josh Wills' return, I think we're going to see him at guard. They need him there because of Hutchinson's injury. So John, if I was a betting man, I would bet that he is going to make the team.
The ninth guy.
I think so. And if I'm going to bet, the place I'm going to do it is at MyBookie. Winning season returns at MyBookie.ag. It's time for you to get into action. First-time players can get started by doubling your first deposit, giving you the firepower to add excitement to the games you love. College football odds boosts, NFL lock of the season, and over $500,000 in contest prizes live on site to make the winning season your best ever at MyBookie. With a historic 18-week schedule, offering now there's 17 games, but it's 18 weeks because there's a bye week in there. But offering more action than ever before, you need a sportsbook casino that's reliable, and you won't find a better place to play than MyBookie. We've been with them for years. They've been with us for years. They're the place to go. I know you're going to bet this season, so do the smart thing. Sign up at MyBookie. Use the promo code PEWTER to get your first ever deposit match dollar for dollar. That's extra money credited to your account instantly just by using the promo code PEWTER and making that first deposit. As you can see on the screen, up to $1,000 for your first deposit bonus. You put $1,000 in, you're starting up with $2,000, my friend. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
All right. So one of the other things that happened today, you mentioned Tanner Hudson, and if Tanner Hudson makes this roster, there might be a segment after him because, buddy, Bruce Arians is getting after this guy.
I know.
He is not messing around. Here's what he had to say about Tanner after the other day when he said Tanner Hudson has regressed as a blocker. This is what he had to say. Somebody asked if Tanner Hudson had a wrist injury, if his wrist injury could extend into the regular season. And Bruce said he's still got to make the team to get to the regular season. So there's a lot to go there. But hopefully he gets back as fast as he can because he's one of those bubble guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong. Obviously, he's right. We know that about
Right.
Tanner Hudson, but it just feels like Cody McElroy might have – maybe he's trying to motivate Tanner Hudson, but
maybe. Now,
if the guy's hurt, I don't know what can happen.
Yeah, here's my analysis. If you're Tanner Hudson and you can play on Saturday, do it. The problem is, where does he need to show the most improvement? Blocking. Okay. So now you got a banged up right wrist and you're
on a bad blocker.
You're a bad blocker to begin with, and you're going to try to, impress the coaches. I don't know what you can do for that, man. But that's some tough sledding right there. The interesting thing is we saw Tanner Hudson with 5 catches for 50 yards, and that's not too surprising, right? He's Mr. August for the Buccaneers. It's been that way for a while. Cody McElroy was only targeted twice, technically once, but he also caught that 2-point conversion. That was a nice play. Blaine Gabbert had a rare misfire, John, on Cody McElroy. That should have been a touchdown because McElroy had a step on the defender. I think a more accurate ball from Blaine Gabbert, and McElroy scores the touchdown rather than Keyshawn Vaughn a play or two later. But I believe you're going to see Cody McElroy get more targets in this game. And boy, if Tanner Hudson doesn't play, you're going to see Cody McElroy get a bunch of targets in his place, he and Jarrell Adams. So I think it really behooves Tanner Hudson. If Tanner Hudson does not play in this game, and of course, he's injured, it's not his fault for getting hurt, but if he doesn't play, I don't think it bodes well for him making this team unless Cody McElroy or Jarrell Adams just drop the ball literally and figuratively on Saturday night.
Yeah, for sure. Tony Saylor wants to know, after the bad start by the first team on Saturday and now the drops, give me something positive to think this squad won't let us down like the 2003 squad. Tony, we appreciate the $5 super chat.
Thank you. Thanks for the super chats, guys.
Yeah, I mean, positive from today's practice. There's plenty of positive from today's practice, even with the negatives. I mean, Bruce Arians called it a really, really good practice. I mean, that might be a stretch. I don't know.
think that's hyperbole.
Yeah, I don't know. And then he went and talked about how many drops they had and how Brady wasn't sharp. So I'm not sure. And he only watched the offense. So how is that a good practice? I don't know. But maybe it just means the work, getting in in the work. But I mean, like I said, I think Tyler Johnson was really good. I think the key cogs in this team don't have as much trouble dropping the ball as some of the fringe pieces.
Right.
If you wise up and you just play Giovanni Bernard way more, you won't have to worry about as many drops at the running back spot. They account for half of them every day when there's a bad day. So yeah, I mean, there's guys got to get better for sure. But the best part about it is you'd rather have problems with catching the football than you would getting open in the first place or in general your scheme working. The Bucs had everything clicking. They had the run game clicking. They had a couple of successful runs. That's been few and far between in practices, and even against the Bengals, facing the Titans run defense, they found some success. Right. No question there. So there's the stuff to get excited about for sure. I mean, obviously this is a loaded team, and we're talking about a practice. We're giving you honest feedback about what happened in this practice, but we are talking about I'm doing the Allen Iverson bit, but
right. Yeah. Here's something positive to take away, because I think with the readers, listeners, and viewers are wanting to get at is give us a positive about the team in general up to this point. And I'll say this: two things. Number one, experience. This is an experienced football team. The vast majority of guys on this roster have a Super Bowl ring. So they've been there and they've done that. They know how to do it. So the inexperience is gone after last year. All the starters return. So they know how to do it. They know how to win, how to overcome adversity. We saw this team twice, John, last year, come back from 17-point deficits early in the season against the Chargers, late in the season on the road against the Falcons. So they have that going for them. The other thing is they've shown us through that experience that they can flip the switch. This team was a penalty-ridden bunch the first 4 or 5 games of the season till that Chicago game. They flipped the switch and stopped beating themselves on a dime, John. That Thursday night game, they knew on that plane ride home, 20-19 loss in Chicago. You kidding me? Yeah. Like, we gave the Bears that game. That's what they were thinking. Guess what, John? The next week against the Packers, 0 penalties, none. I've never seen that in my 25 years of covering this team. So that experience, the ability to flip the switch, they have it, they've done it, they've shown it. So I believe that whether it's drop passes or just inefficiencies, I think they have the ability to get that out of their system at the drop of a hat because they've done it in the past. Now, will they do it? That's up to them.
Yeah, somebody wants to know, Mitch wants to know who's the better blocker, Hudson or McElroy. Neither are good blockers, but McElroy really will get after it. He actually had a nice block on maybe the Bucs' best run of the game against Cincinnati.
He's 6'6". He's got some long arms.
And he'll get after it a little bit more than Tanner Hudson will.
Agreed.
William wants to know, how did Gronk look today? I mean, not good. Good in the fact that he can still run by anybody and get open. But he's not finishing tough catches, which, I mean, I know Gronk always has. We have a huge sample size and then the last 2 days of practice, so you don't, or week of practice, you tell me what you're going off of. I think he's going to be, but I'm just answering your question about today. He had an opportunity to come up with a seam throw in the end zone from Brady that he tracked over his shoulder, was right off his hand, gorgeous throw, and he dropped it in the end zone. And then later in practice, he had an opportunity to make an out route, catch on an out route from Brady, perfect pass. Jaylen Brown made a great play in coverage. He did the swat through his hands and knocked the ball down. It was good coverage. But, I mean, Gronk didn't come up with catches that Gronk almost always comes up with. So it wasn't a good day for him. It wasn't a good day for Mike Evans. Those two guys and Jalen Darden too. Jalen Darden made plays, but he also dropped too many balls. Yeah. Those guys kind of stand out as some of the biggest culprits in terms of not having good days at the receiver position. I guess you saw O.J. Howard struggle too. So, I mean, that's been par for the course for him. O.J. is the only guy I would be – I mean, Darden's a rookie. It's going to happen. I'm not worried about Gronk or Evans. But O.J., we just got to see, he's got to get some great plays. You remember last year, Camp? I mean, I wasn't there,
dominated.
He dominated every day he was the story.
Especially in the red zone. I mean, he and Brady had that red zone connection. He would work the back of the back line of the end zone right in front of the goalpost. He was just unstoppable at times.
Yeah, that has not been the case this year. No. I don't think there's been one practice like that so far.
And I think it's all up here. I think that he's thinking too much. There's some rust to shake off. I hope he plays a lot. I hope he plays a lot in this game because he really needs to shake the rust off. He he is not going to pick up where he left off.
Now,
remember that Chargers game? He caught a touchdown.
Yeah,
I mean, he
was playing
Denver
very
game
confident
the week before. Yeah,
Brady believed in him. The Achilles hurt a lot. I mean, and he's got to come back from it. It's going to take time. You know, you could say what you want. People are always going to rip on OJ Howard unless he, becomes a full-time number one tight end in the NFL. I get it. But at the same time, like, dude's been through a lot. So I'm just hoping that he can get back to where he was mentally. And I think that will help the rest of his game. Having said that, like, if OJ Howard's a 400 yards guy this season, all right, I think the Bucs are going to. I don't think it changes their prognosis for the Super Bowl or playoff. It just doesn't. That's the reality of the team. They're loaded. Anything they get from OJ Howard this season is icing on the cake. Now, for OJ Howard, it's a crucial season. He can't have a 400-yard season. He's got to ball a little bit, I think.
I agree.
Special teams, Tracy Tucker wants to know about. I got to tell this story. Jaden Mcnichols is one of my favorite players on this team, Scott. Yeah. Zach Blobner at WDAE and we always joke around. I'm always like, there he is. He's making this team, buddy. 7 wide receivers. And he's like, there is no chance he makes this team. But I don't know whether he makes it or not. But like, as a gunner, a gunner, he doesn't run with the first gunner group, but he ran with the gunner group today. And he got down. He made a great play on the ball and on a punt, and he kept it, pinned it down at like the 4 or 5 yard line. Right. He's so smart. He's one of the smartest players on the team. I know everybody's going to go back to the gun thing in LA that happened, but I'm just telling you, he's one of the smartest football players on the team. Like, he knows all the rules of the scenario that happens. He knows the rules. He was teaching them to Jalen Darden. Yeah. When if a kickoff rolls near the out of bounds, go out of bounds, reach back into the field to play with your feet out of bounds, and touch the balls, because if you do that, then that's going to be it's an out of bounds. It's a flag on them, and you're going to get the ball at the 40-yard line or whatever. So he knows all that stuff. Like today, the Titans he's back there on punt as a punt returner, and they're trying to down the ball, inside the 5, and he goes down. He's the punt returner. He gets out of there as he should for the drill. They were getting out for everyone so they could work on pinning the ball. Well, but he stays like right in the vicinity because he knows they're going to throw the ball back, right? Like one guy gets down there, Elijah Molden, and he throws the ball back to keep it from crossing over the end zone. Well, Mcnichols darts in front of the other Tennessee gunner, catches it like out of midair, and takes off running, and they don't know what's going on. He just he knows that you can advance the ball freely in that situation if the kicking team has touched it first. Even if he fumbles it or drops it, it doesn't matter. It just goes back to wherever it was touched. So there's nothing to lose, and he knows that, and he makes those kind of plays. He just does that kind of stuff all the time. Today he didn't have a drop.
Saturday's game that we saw some awful return averages.
Yeah.
I mean, Keyshawn
and then when he gets in there, what happens?
33 yards, right? 33 yards for Jaden Mcnichols. That's what I'm saying. They want to give this job to Jalen Darden. In my opinion, Jalen Darden's got to earn it. I mean, it's
you only got one return opportunity,
and you're gonna see more of that, I'm sure, over the next 2 games. But I mean, Jaden Mcnichols, he produces results, and he's had a really good camp. He's been very, very solid as a receiver.
How many passes has Jaden Mcnichols dropped today? 0.
Yeah.
How many passes did he catch? I mean, several. And he got a deep. He won deep over one of the Titans. I forget who it was, but he beat him deep.
You like Mcnichols like BA likes Gabbert. That's what
like you like Gabbert.
I like Gabbert.
I do. I really like Jaden Mcnichols. I mean, remember last year I was kind of laying into him in the Giants game. He messed up a couple routes, and then he did come up clutch too in that game.
The Bucs like him too. Right? I mean, when he had the gun charge, and we still don't know the outcome of that. At least I don't think so. It hasn't been reported, but that's an opportunity where if you don't like the guy, you can part ways with him for that reason. But they're seeing him through this instance.
And he's one of the most popular guys in the locker room, too.
Yes,
I mean,
he is.
Teammates love him. He gets everybody fired up for every drill. He's talkative. He plays like he plays with full confidence all the time in himself. If he had to come in at receiver, he could play outside. He could play inside. He can win vertically. He's fast enough. He's quick enough. He separates. And the best thing about him, honestly, this year at camp, I don't know if I've ever seen this with Jaden Mcnichols before, even watching him in college. He's made a ton of combat catches. Like, I'm not saying he's high pointing the ball and skying over guys and like mossing them.
Yeah, he's 5'10",
Yeah, he's making catches in the middle of the field when guys hit him. Like consistent. I can think of multiple examples throughout camp where he's hung onto the ball while guys hit him or our hands gone through his hands. Like he's making a lot of those tough catches that other guys have not made quite as consistently. And so I wouldn't want to lose him if I were the Bucs. That's the thing. I
agree.
Like, how do you figure out how to make it work? Can he be a gunner?
7 receivers. That's how you do it, John. That's how you do it. You figure out.
He was a gunner last year. I mean, he did a little gunner last year in the playoffs.
Let him do it. Greg DeCruz, the only concern I have with this team is punt and kickoff coverage. The kickoff coverage has been abysmal, dating back to last year. John, you broke that down in a column last year. We saw that again with a 40-yard return where Tyler Johnson gets walled off early in the play. He has enough stick-to-itiveness to run back and finally make the tackle, but still 40 yards. The good news is that Bradley Pinion is going to be kicking most of those balls into and out of the back of the end zone for touchbacks. But during the preseason, you want to see how your coverage unit does, so they purposely don't kick it deep to see how these guys perform in special teams. Greg says we can live with crappy returns, but not with crappy coverage units. I'd like to see. I'm a Carl the Truth Williams guy. I'm an old school Buccaneer guy. I want to see some returns, and I know the kickoff returns, they've kind of gone by the wayside because so many teams do kick the ball out of bounds with touchbacks. But I'd love to see upon return, go to at least midfield. I mean, give me a 20 or 30-yard punt return, if not to the house. It's just been too long. And Tampa Bay did have some good returns back in the day. Carl Williams, Michael Spurlock. It just seems like that's been a void. And I've not been impressed with Keith Armstrong as a special teams coordinator. Certainly, his units did not perform on Saturday at all in any facet outside of that Jaden Mickens 33-yard return.
We're concerned about the Bucs coverage units on kickoffs, but whose coverage unit I'm not concerned about, Scott? I'm not concerned about Briar Greaves' coverage because their insurance. They'll keep you covered no matter what, whether it's life, homeowners, auto, or even commercial insurance. Briar and Sam Greaves and their staff. My computer's attacking me. Briar and Sam Greaves and their staff are the best in the Bay Area. They have it all. And they're Bucs fans. It'll take you 10 minutes. Give them a call. Tell them your situation, and they'll let you know if you can save a ton of money by switching insurances. I mean, that's what's so great about what Briar and Sam do, and they're huge Bucs fans. And at the very least, you get a little conversation about the Bucs out of it. But they're people you can trust. And again, it just takes time. It takes a couple minutes of your time to make sure you give them a call. So why not see insurance.com or give them a call as well today, 813-876-4166. You can find out how much money you can save with Briar Greaves Insurance.
John, two quick things. Number one, it's hurricane season. So this is the time to make sure that your house is properly insured. This is the time to make sure that you have the coverage you need. Number two, you might even want to call them about your computer. If it's glitching like that.
It literally just took my ad reads back to the top of it just did it again without me touching the screen.
Call Briar Greaves, have them insure your computer. Because you need it, John. You need your computer.
You have no idea. All right, the last thing we got to talk about. You knew you weren't going to let us get out of the show. I wasn't going to let us get out of the show without talking about it. The mystery remains. Who is the MFer that Brady referred to on the HBO show, The Shop?
Oh, John, I thought you were going to ask me what really happened with Mark Cook in the arrest that he had in Hillsborough County back.
Oh, do you want to tell that story first?
Well, no, we'll get to Mark Cook's arrest later because I actually got the scoop from somebody who was there to witness that. So that's going to be coming up in just a couple of minutes here. But please, John, you were there for the Tom Brady press conference. Do we have an answer? Who was the MRFer that Brady was talking about?
Well, you can go over to my Twitter and see the video clip. Thanks to Zach Blobner, WDAE. He shot the video of it. But Brady talking and answering question. I don't know who the Titans reporter was, but he was dogged. Was Tannehill? He said first he asked, was Tannehill the MFer you were referring to in The Shop? And what do you think of Ryan Tannehill's game? So of course Brady ignored the question and just talked up Tannehill and how I've lost him a couple times. Like he's great, great guy, and blah blah blah. And then he asked him again. So Tannehill wasn't the MFer in the video, and Brady said, "Did you just say MFer out here?" And the guy said, "I just want to know, was he the MFer in the video?" And Brady said, "Ryan?" And the guy said, "Yes, was Brian Tannehill the MFer in the video?" And Brady, uncomfortably looking down, goes, No, Ryan's a great guy. Like blah, blah, blah. I was just talking on that. And that was it. It was like, oh my goodness. Like clearly, in my opinion, he's lying, Scott. I mean, and I've already said, I've talked to a lot of people that I feel like really know. And I feel like very confident that the Titans were the team today. Just reaffirmed that for me.
And listen, we all have great love and affection for Tom Brady, right? I mean, it comes down to Tampa. leads this team out of the playoff drought and darkness and takes them to the damn Super Bowl and wins it right here at Ray J, right? I've even said put the guy in the Bucs Ring of Honor. He deserves it even after one season. He's done so much. He's rewritten some of the record book. He brought this team to its second Super Bowl title. He was the Super Bowl MVP. I am not a Tom Brady hater by any means. But, John, he is a proven liar. Why? Why do we know this?
He said he does.
Huh?
He said he lies. When he was on the shop, he said he lies.
Exactly. So he's admitted it. And, of course, his biggest lie was when he was holding up 4 fingers for the Chicago game. He finally came clean on his Instagram or TikTok, whatever it was, this offseason. And said that he didn't know which down it was after bold-faced lying and saying that he knew it, and even had Bruce Arians cover for him as well during the season. So yes, I agree with you, John. I think that Tom Brady is full of it. I do think that Ryan Tannehill was the MRFer he was talking about.
100% he was. And it was funny today because I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know who this Titans reporter was, but I give him some props. I mean, I wouldn't have been that dogged in that, but he just would not let it go. And Brady didn't want to lie when he started, but by the end, he was lying.
The thing is, we had to get to the bottom of it, John. That's what we do on Pewter Reports podcast. Is we do on pewterreport.com on our Twitter account. Make sure if you have not yet that you follow us and subscribe to us right here on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. So hit that like.
We're close to 5,000.
We're close to 5,000. Make sure that you subscribe to Pewter Report TV on YouTube. Make sure you hit like. We appreciate those. Helps us grow the podcast and our following, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And not only do we get to the bottom of things, such as the Brady MRFer thing, John, we also get to the bottom of Mark Cook's fishing arrest. That's right. We lost our great friend and legendary Bucs reporter, Mark Cook, last Thursday. We appreciate everybody tuning in to the Monday tribute show, the Remembering Mark Cook episode. If you haven't watched that yet, a lot of great memories from the Pewter Report podcast, a couple of classic Mark Cook clips on there. And I got an email from Chris Smith, one of Mark's longtime friends from the Lithia, Pinecrest, Plant City area. And so let's talk about the fishing felon, as Michael Henderson says, to end the program here. This is from the email, so I'll share this. This is from Chris. He said, I don't know how many people know that he was arrested for fishing without a license. Scott, I was fishing with him when he got the ticket. We were in a really tiny John boat. The fish and wildlife officer standing on the bank waiting for us. We're paddling to shore with a shovel because Mark didn't charge the battery for the trolling motor. That's classic Mark Cook right there. Yes. So the fish and wildlife officer gave us a warning for not having the proper flotation devices, for not having a whistle, no flashlight, and then he wrote Cook a ticket for no fishing license. The officer, of course, tells Cook just to get his license before the court date, and the ticket and the fine will disappear. I reminded him to get his license, but then he didn't do it. So what did Mark Cook do? He actually turned himself into the jail. He turned himself in. That's classic Cook right there. Oh my gosh. So I never heard that story before.
Wouldn't go get his license, but would turn himself into the police.
Yes. So
that's so on brand. It just cracks me up. Oh my goodness.
Yes. So there's that.
Amazing.
That's some classic stuff right there.
Classic Mark Cook for sure.
We missed that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. We missed him this week too, down at Bucs practice. We'll be back tomorrow at Bucs practice. They'll be facing the Titans again tomorrow in practice. It will be a lot of the starters tomorrow, just like it was today. Bruce Arians has said that's on purpose. They want to put those guys, Blaine Gabbert, Tom Brady, the ones and the twos, through a lot of rigorous practices and make sure that they get that type of competition. So that'll be a focus again tomorrow. We'll have lots more to report. Hopefully there's all positive rather than the some negative that had to be today. But hey, we're just the messengers. Don't shoot them.
That's
Bruce
right.
Arians said the same thing after practice. He's furious about it. And this is what he said, actually. Let's close the pod with this.
Let's do it.
This is what he said about drops. He said, I thought it was outstanding work. We'll grade the tape as far as who did what and who didn't. I know one thing. We dropped way too many damn passes. We have to stop that. And then he was asked what he attests the drop passes to. He says they dropped it. catch it. Shit, there ain't no excuse. They're perfectly thrown balls. You catch the damn thing.
Well said.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Bruce Arians on the drops issue. Hopefully it subsides. If not, we'll have you covered at Pewter Report. Again, 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, talking Bucs-Titans practice, the second practice between the Bucs and the Titans. Friday's day off for us, and I don't think the team – they might have a walkthrough of the team. And then Saturday will be the game between the Bucs and the Titans. Starters not playing. We'll have you covered on that, and we'll do a post-game podcast breaking everything down as we did last week, which was awesome. Y'all were great on that as well, and it'll be a lot of fun. So until then, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.